Welcome back to Slot Car Cast. This episode, I'm going to take a look at some scale racing league rules. This is an event you would hold if you want to have like a team event for 8 drivers. It can work with 6 drivers. It can work with 16, whatever your number is. It should work with it. We have 2 races that happen. You have an IROC race where every driver that's going to show up today. I'm just going to say there's 8 people show up today. 4 cars will stay on the lane. I've designated this as lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, and lane 4. And so during this IROC, you can hold it any way you want. If you have a less robust timing system, maybe you're just hand counting laps, it doesn't matter. This first video is going to show you how to run a race like this with no assistance from the computer software. Then later in the video and in this document, I'll show you how to do it with a more advanced timing system. And then the third option is to where you can have if you have a really smart system like Race Coordinator can track every single thing of this. So once you set it up once, you never have to touch it again. You just hit the race go and you're ready to rock. So this first video, I'm just going to show you a basic, how to basically run this system. What you'll do is you'll start, your 8 drivers will just randomly rotate through each car. Each person needs to drive this car once so they get a feel for it. Now, in my picture here, obviously I'm showing Carrera DTMs on red lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. It can be anything you want. I mean, whatever you guys are using. You want to get your cars paired similar, but they don't have to be exactly the same. In this example, my Red Bull car is it's got the better top speed. But for some reason, the BMW bank handles better in the turn. So either of those cars are okay. These cars are just average DTM cars. I don't see much difference. If I had to pick one, I would probably take the Mercedes. Just it seems a little better, but it could. It's with my driving style. Your driving style may be different. So you go through the IROC race. You determine which cars you like. You're going to say, I like this one, then I like the yellow one, then I like the silver one. That's fine. You've got it in your head. We take a look at the results and we place everybody how they've won the race. So first place, he's going to get $900,000, and he will be teamed up with the 8th place driver. I mean, we've all seen that kind of system before. Now, that will become Team 18, I call it. Here's an envelope. Team 18 for 1 and 8. It's Team 1. And in their envelope, they have their winnings. $900,000 plus $100,000 is $1 million. Don't spend that all in one place, kids. So they've made $1 million on Team 1. Team 2, obviously same thing. They're going to get Team 27. So that's driver 2 and 7. Easy to remember. 3, Team 4, and then you will also hand out, as the race director will also have a petty cash fund here with cash that's going to be spent, and you'll get a sheet here, which I'll show you in a little bit later. Here's the sheet. This sheet will be handed out to each team. So Team 1 gets this sheet, and it looks like this. They look at the cars, they talk to each other, and they say, which car do you like better? And you may have a disagreement. Maybe this is where the strategy of the event comes into play. Let's just say you're the top driver in your club and you're teamed with the lowest seated driver. You don't necessarily need to worry about the best car because you're the best driver. You're going to be able to handle whatever they throw at you. You have to figure out what he was best at. You can look at the stats. You can get his feel for it. Whatever your 8th seed driver is, you need to decide which of these cars you like best for him. Or if you do it for you, if you pick the best one for you, that could leave him in a pickle. So if he, for some reason, if he says, and you look at his stats, he had the best on this silver car, great, because everybody else seemed to prefer the faster car or the better handling car. This is why it's important. You're going to bid from your winnings that you got earlier. You got $1 million. You're going to write down on your sheet here, how much would you pay for that number 1 car? How much would you pay if you don't win it? How much would you pay for the number 2 car, 3 car, 4 car? So just as an example here, I've just kind of scribbled in $500,000 for the 1 car or the 2 car. I put down $200,000 for the 3rd car, and then $100,000 because $100,000 is your minimum bid you have to bid on. And if you don't want to bid on any of them, just put $100,000 on each of them. Now, why are we bidding? The winner of the next race for the team event is the team that has the most money at the end of the match. So our teams will get together. We'll race with the car we pick. This is where the cars are no longer stuck to the lane. It's the car you pick will now run through all four lanes, and then we run through all four lanes again, and we make sure that each of the team members drives on every single lane. So I'll drive first. Let's just say I'm going to put on this sheet, I put our team in order. I put driver A is Jeremy, driver B is Andy. So once we get our car, we bid, we win it. I will be going first because I'm team A. So we look at how the randomization comes up, and it's I'm going to start on white lane. Then Andy goes, he races on green lane. Then I come back into red lane. Then Andy goes on the orange lane. Now at this point, we'll flip over. B will race, and he'll race on the lanes that he didn't race, and I'll race on the lanes that I didn't race. This, like I said, this way everybody gets to race on the lane with their car of choice. Now, the bidding starts. You'll fill out your sheet with your team, who you are, and how much you want to bid on it. You'll fold it in half, and when the race director asks you, turn in your sheets, you got to wait for the race director to fill out his sheet first because you don't want him to be accused of cheating. So he has to fill it out first, put it on the table. You take yours in, you turn it into the race director, fold it, don't let anybody see your things. The race director will open up the sheets, and he'll look at who bid the highest on car one. Let's just say team 36 bid $1 million all the way because they want this fastest car. Now they're out of money. They're at $1 million. So they're going to need to do really well in the next race. We bid $500,000 on the second place car, and nobody else bid higher than me. So we would take this car, and now we have $500,000 still left in our Team 2 bucket here. We would take $500,000 out, give it to the race director. So that's the basics of how it works. You want to bid what you think the other teams will want. Like, for example, if you don't really want this first car, you want the second car, only bid like $200,000-300,000 on this car. And if you pick it up at $200,000 or $300,000, you are a race direction, like you should be leading an F1 team at this point because you've made a really good investment on a really good car. But like I said, you're gonna have to bid at least $100,000 on one of the cars. That way, everybody gets a car for their team. Now, to keep it simple, I've put color coding up here just for my track. Of course, you could obviously change what that is. Tie bids, if there happens to be everybody for some reason bids $500,000 on every single car. Then we sort it and organize it by teams 4, 3, 2, and 1. Team 4 will get the first option. If everybody's tied, they pick the one they want. So ties usually won't happen, but it very well could. So how does that work now with a simple timing system? A simple timing system, maybe it just scores like however you're used to running events. Just as long as you can put in 2 times through, that way the teams have to, each driver has to race on every lane. You can't cherry pick, I'm going to be on the gutter lanes, and the weaker driver will just drive on the easy lanes. This way, everybody has to drive every lap. When you race an event, you can do that part any way you want. If you're used to racing by time or by laps, however you do it, just set it up to go 2 times through. Take the winners off of the system, and here's your payout. The winning team will get $1 million. Team 2, 800, 600, 400. You then take that with the money that you have left in there. Just say Andy and I got third place, 600,000, but we only spent 500,000 on our car. We're up 1.1 million. Now, earlier I said maybe the top team that wants that one car, the fastest car, that they felt, they spent $1 million on it, and then they broke even at 1 million because it only pays out 1 million. So that would be some bad strategy there if you're a team owner. It could work if everybody else bids too much, but you're going to take your combined winnings. The team that had the most money overall at the end of this is the winner of the event. That gives you have a team race at the end. The first part is a solo race basically because you're trying to set some your best times to get higher seeded. Now, this is just the basics of how everything works. I'm going to attach this sheet. It's going to be a living document, so if there's any changes or clarifications that are needed, I'll add it to the appendix. I have an appendix down at the very bottom. Also at the very bottom are sheets. You would just print out one copy of this page for the handout so people can sign up and pick their team they want and give it a team name later. and then you probably want to print out this money. I mean, you could do it by writing it down, but for me, it's just kind of fun to have an envelope with $1 million of printed money in there. That is all you need to do. The race is very easy to explain. Just race your first race, get paired with your team, finance your car, and go. Now, there's a few clarifications I have that'll be in some of the advanced setups. Like I said, in this format, it's just for people who don't do a lot with their timing. You don't really care about your timing. But we have a few rules for odd number of racers. You're expecting 8 people and only 7 show up. He becomes a privateer. Whoever's the odd man out with the lowest score, he can enter. There's different rules for that. There's a way to do this as a series over a full season where you can try to get the driver with the most money is crowned the driver's champion. That money will not carry over to each race. You can't just like outspend everybody and pull a Mercedes or F1 Red Bull kind of thing where you just outspend everybody and win. So that money will just bank, and that's how you'll keep track of the winners. And then those teams will change. Like you'll basically your winnings you'll be splitting in half. So a really weak driver, if he's paired with a really good driver, he's going to get that split money. So let's just say it's 400,000 for this race. That'll move him up in standings for monetary value. So he's not always going to be out of it and feel like, why do I even show up? Because I'm just going to get beat. So this gives them a little more ways to move the scoring around. So it's not just always the best driver winning everything. And then I have some information in here. If you have 3-lane track, a 6-lane track, or even an 8-lane track, all you do is you'll split the way the money comes to the drivers at the beginning of the IROC. You always want to start with $1 million, so it's 900,000 for first place, and the last place is always 100,000. That way they get $1 million. But every time you seat a driver, it needs to come up to $1 million. Same thing with if you just have a 3-lane track, but you have 6 drivers who want to participate. You can still do that here. You're just splitting the median number. And then lastly, for cheaters, there's always cheaters. I don't know why. It always happens. Somebody's going to figure out, hey, if I just go slow in the IROC, I can be teamed with the best driver and win. We have a way to deal with that. Obviously, look at the sheet here, and I give you some ideas on how to deal with that. The easiest way is if you have an advanced timing system, like I'm going to say race coordinator, just because that's what I know. You can have the first IROC race the winner determined by 4 different ways. You can have whoever drove the furthest distance. You can have it set up to whoever took the distance and raced it the fastest. That's a second way to do it. You can then have everybody race. You can have everybody race the same amount of laps. Let's just say we're all going to do 50 laps. We tie break it then on when we have a tiebreaker. We have it either average lap time, which that's the most random of all the ways to break a tie. I don't recommend it unless you're just trying to do something crazy. You could tie break it by median lap, and you could tie break it by fastest lap. So you can have 5 different ways to win. You don't tell the people that when you're having your first IROC race, don't tell them what the winning formula is. Just tell them race as hard as you can. If they jake it and take it easy in the first race, at least you'll have a baseline for how they stood in the race. So, for example, let me see if I have it here. You'll have average. Well, that's not really a good one. Let me see if I thought I had it somewhere. You'll have a list of average lap time, median lap time for each driver. Here we go. I go through this in detail later on. In the next video, I'll cover it a little more. But you'll have, let's just say Austin here. These are the default names. Austin's median lap time is 6.4. Later, what I do is use that as your base plate. Just take a quick print out of that or picture, whatever you need to do. If a couple races down the road, Austin is driving a 6.9, he gets a fine. This is not me fining you. This is the Scale Racing League has fined you for an infraction, and his team that he goes to will lose $500,000 during that bid process. And yes, it's kind of extreme, but with your median lap on this, we should all be similar to what our median laps normally are. There's not going to be any extreme outliers unless something weird happened. And sometimes something weird will accidentally happen and you get fined for it. You can take it up with the Scale Racing League and see what they propose, but good luck hearing from them. So that's the basics of it. I'll go over the more advanced features of the race. It's just it's race individually, combine as a team, buy a car, and then compete to make the most money for your team and for your driver. That's it. I hope you give it a test, see what you think. Any feedback would be great. Like I said, these rules will be linked. It will be a live document, so anybody will be able to view it. If there's any edits I have to make to it later, I will. Like, oh, here's an edit right there. I will make those edits, and if you're watching that document, it will update. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks. See ya.